Canada are big winners to start off the CONCACAF Gold Cup. A 6-0 win over Honduras last night at BC Place. So Alex and I, both in Vancouver, we were at the game last night.
That's another thing I'm envious about with you guys. It's not just your age and your youthfulness. It's now the fact that you were there for one of the most historic Canadian men's national team wins in our lifetime, which is pretty sweet. I got to be honest. I was happy you guys were there together for that.
Yeah, you could sense the grandeur of it when I was walking home, and people remember Honduras. They used to be a fixture at World Cups, and what was it, 2010, 2014? So people seeing this, like, who are these Canadian teams?
To see Canada go out and humiliate Honduras like that, like, honestly, man, it's a damn shame they didn't score 8. Should have been 8-1.
I think everyone was thinking that it could have been 8-0 at some points, and it could have been 7 after Saliba scored as well. Like, they had a little bit of time in that stoppage time, but in a way, this does kind of reverse that or erase some of the sorrow that came with that San Pedro Sula fixture that, reigned over, World Cup qualifying, and Canada got wins over Honduras during World Cup qualifying. But a 6-0, like a landmark win like that, kind of takes away some of the pain for Canadian soccer fans, I think, Brendan.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if this had come against a different opponent, it wouldn't carry the same weight. And that's what makes this pretty special, because we do feel like we're in the early stages of a totally new era. And there'll be chapters to this Jesse Marsch era, but now this is a tournament. If they do go on to win this Gold Cup, which, again, Landon Donovan said they're favorites, this is their tournament to lose. Alexi Lala said nobody's winning this but Canada. I know those are just kind of two voices, but those are two very prominent voices in the North American soccer space that very rarely echoed things like that about the Canadian men's national team. And I know that there's some doubt amongst Canadians at home, not wanting to get too excited or too attached to this, but you look at the way that team played, missing 6, you would say, regular starters, or 6 starters that you would expect to be on the pitch in Toronto in 11 months and 3 weeks when Canada kick off the World Cup next summer. That's a pretty impressive showing from what was a very inexperienced cap-wise starting 11. You got a lot of reason to be very, very excited for the next couple games to come, Alex.
Yeah, could you be surprised anymore? Like, I don't know. A lot of guys who weren't in that lineup today, might be looking, okay, Alphonso Davies is probably pretty comfortable, but some of the other guys are sitting like, shoot, I want to be here, because guys are stepping up and putting in top shifts. Because, like, another thing lost is, of course, what I love about this Honduras win is it applies to the old Canada fan. Be like, oh, like, the good feelings in their heart, you feel good things. But even for the kids of, oh, this is the new Canada, where Honduras was the pot 2 team in Canada's group. Like, this was supposed to be the hard match. Jesse Marsch pitted it as the hard match, yet Canada just goes out there and absolutely dominates. But it shows that for all the skepticism, I guess we can say it, that we had last year when Jesse Marsch was rolling through Copa America and doing good things, but he wasn't rotating the squad, and we're like, what the heck's going on? That approach has paid off, and he's actually talked a lot about it. I know we were listening to some availabilities, and Marsch said, yeah, that was intentional. Maybe it cost us in that semifinal against Argentina, but now this depth that they build up is just absolutely wild. And man, like, really now, I think over the next 12 months, no one's going to want to miss any camps, because it feels like anytime you let someone take your spot, even temporarily, they're going to come in and put the game of their lives in.
I was watching Romel Kyoto closely, and there was a few kind of other tells where you can see what Honduras was like, caught in a nightmare. Like, is this really happening? And Kyoto, especially, the couple times he bumped into the Fudrols, and there was someone else, I forget if it was Lorray on the one side, and you could just tell his body language was like, this is not supposed to be happening. How is this happening? Which I thought was very cool.
Yeah, it was one of those matches where you leave and you can't really go to sleep after, because you're just on such like an electric feeling, kind of, because you didn't know that was going to happen. And Brendan, I know you've talked about that with some Canada games in the past. And Alex, I mean, with the way the Whitecaps played this year, there's been some moments like that for you. But that was one of those Canada games that brought that type of energy. And I didn't end up getting to sleep around 2 a.m. It doesn't help that I tried to write an article once I got home after filing at the stadium as well. But a big
as long as you didn't call Nathan Saliba William Saliba and you're published, you're fine, buddy. You're fine.
I had dreams last night, so for me it was fine. I mean, the 6-0 loss would have been a bit different. 6-0 win, I was sleeping like a baby.
Big win, and of course we saw a ton of different goal scores for this Canadian team. It was 2 goals from Tejan Buchanan. He's in great form after that showing against Ukraine. We saw Promise David get on the score sheet. He also scored against Ukraine. Of course, Nico Sigor gets his first for the national team. He's playing back at home. He was a ball boy at BC Place the last time that he was there in 2019. Tani Oluwaseyi scores, and Nathan Saliba with just an absolute piss missile in the 90th minute to cap this one off. Depth in scoring. I think it's 13 of Canada's, or 13 goal scorers on Canada's last 14 goals. It's outstanding what this attack is doing right now. Alex.
Yeah, well, just on that stat, I was at the Gold Cup. Shout out Opta. It's not every day you see an Opta tweet about what the Canadian men's national team. But yeah,
I was thinking about that. I'm like, where did they even find the picture? Because Reuters isn't there last night. Where did they even get the picture for that?
Yeah, it was great. But yeah, I love how they put it after the Oluwaseyi goal, and they're probably sitting there like, shoot, like, because then you got, of course, Tejan scores. He scored at a Gold Cup recently, but then to have Saliba score his first Canadian goal, Promise David score his second. All of a sudden, they're probably thinking, shoot, we maybe jumped the gun a little bit. So no, that just goes to the depth point we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, I mean, we're worried about where the goals would come from for this national team. Really, since they qualified and were kings of CONCACAF, before the World Cup in 2022. I think that the actual stat, the Opta stat you're referring to, I don't know if you'd said it was like the last 11 goal scorers of 11 different players, up to what was Oluwaseyi's goal there, which is impressive, man, because it does feel like they can come from other places. And there's something about like the confidence that we've seen with these younger players in particular, where in the past, young players don't take many risks, or young players maybe try and walk kind of a tight line, they play a little conservative, but they are encouraged, not just from Jesse Marsh, but from their teammates and within this team environment to like hit the max. Not I don't think that it's like hey, go out and make that highlight reel play, but it's like go out there and like get the fans off their asses, like go out there and really take over this game and make it your moment. And Promise David doesn't need to be prompted to do that. Nathan Saliba doesn't need to be prompted to do that either. So I love that you used the description of piss missile for that goal. And I love that we saw the variety of goals against Honduras.
We also saw a bunch of different pairings in that starting lineup as well. It was the pairings out wide. It was the pairing in the middle of Choinière and Saliba, which I was a little bit skeptical of when it was initially on the lineup sheet. And then Oluwaseyi and David up top to start. And of course, that center back pairing of Luc Dufour-Rolls and Joel Waterman with Derek Cornelius sidelined. And of course, Moise Bombito not there. All these new pairings, and they all worked for Canada last night. I think especially that Sigor-Buchanan pairing. But they only had 30% of Canada's attacks, and shout out to CONCACAF for having Opta stats perform complimentary on their platform. But what do you see from all of those different duos last night that really defined the game for Canada, Brendan?
I thought Ali Ahmed and Tejan Buchanan were fantastic on the wings. And was it the Champions Cup final where Ahmed played on the wrong side? It was, right?
Yes,
there was a recent outing where it was like, why is he over there? And he very much looked at home. And Johal wrote on Canadian Soccer Daily afterwards about the grass and how much obviously the players enjoyed how different it was to play on natural grass at BC Place. And you could see, from the way Ali Ahmed played, like he looked like he had an extra step. He looked like he had an extra level there. So I think it was good. And I'm sure you're going to get into your boy Mathieu Choinière in terms of being a real set piece taker. But in that pivot with Saliba, I thought they were damn good. It's very rare that you get, when you have players like Stefan Eustáquio and Ismail Kone, it's very rare that new players make you completely forget about them. And I thought the two of them really did that against Honduras. It's one game, but if you had to start a tournament, and this again should have been their most difficult game, when that 11 came out, there was some concern that like this isn't the real team. This is not the strongest 11, albeit we've been boasting about how Jesse Marsh has brought his strongest side to this tournament. But damn, they sure looked at.
Yeah, at the same time, I think what stands out from the 11 is Jesse Marsh is learning about his team. Jesse Marsh knows what partnerships work and don't work. One thing a couple of things that stand out is, for example, at striker, we've talked about how Kyle Larin and Jonathan David are very similar. Suddenly, over the last 3 games, we've seen Larin and David playing in the hole, usually one at a time, and that's kind of let one of Oluwaseyi, Promise David, or Jebison go in front. And that's worked very well. All of a sudden, Oluwaseyi gets a great goal in this game. Promise David has 2 goals. I think Jesse Marsch has kind of realized how to get the most out of his strikers and where they need to be on the field. In midfield, Stefan Eustáquio, when he hasn't played, it's kind of been a bit of a mess. But I think he's realized Eustáquio has 2 backups on this team. It's Mathieu Choinière and it's Nico Seeger. Nico Seeger we haven't seen there because he's been playing fullback, but Choinière is the Eustáquio replacement. And before he's maybe tried, do I put Kone in there? Do I put something else? They're not the same player. Choinière is, and he was excellent. He fits that. So now what that means is, okay, that opens up space for Saliba, Kone, etc. to fight for more as the 8s. And right now Saliba put in a heck of a case. Out wide, we saw Tajon Buchanan back. That's been the case. Now all of a sudden, there was a while there, like we were talking about it last fall, where Buchanan, with how low his confidence was, Ahmed Schaffelberg, where you're almost no doubt starters. Now I think Buchanan showed why he's going to be a lock to start next year at the World Cup, and I think it's going to be Ahmed beside him. Not a bad thing, because as we know, Schaffelberg 60 onwards is never a bad proposition against tired legs. In fact, that winger battle might be the only area where I have any sort of clarity at the moment of what next year looks like. So yeah, credit to Jesse Marsch for kind of realizing, based on trial and error, what we've seen, where what works on this Canadian team. And I think he's showing that with the lineup he put out. That's why, despite it looking a bit dodgy at first, I was actually quite happy, because it ticked a lot of boxes where there was no outrageously imbalanced midfield or imbalanced strike partnerships. Marsch is finding those combos, and it worked perfectly in this one.